Welcome, I'm Lauren from Zestful Kitchen, and welcome to Everyday Gourmet, where I share realistic recipes for the avid home cook using fresh ingredients and global flavors. Today we're making my favorite roasted green bean recipe. It uses my steam roast method, which I think creates the most delicious, crisp, tender roasted green bean. It's perfect for the holidays, but it's easy enough for a weeknight. First things first, we're gonna take some pine nuts and we're gonna toast them. I have my oven preheated for the green beans already. So while we prep the green beans and get everything ready, I'm gonna toast these up. So I'm just gonna put them on a little tiny sheet pan and we're gonna roast these for like 6 minutes. We're gonna keep an eye on them. I do recommend toasting them in the oven instead of on the stovetop. It's tempting to do the stovetop. I do like that method because it just feels easier, but toasting them in the oven will just make for a more even toasted nut. I think that's perfect, 6 minutes. At 425. I wouldn't normally toast nuts at 425, but that's what we have preheated for the green beans, and that worked great. Rule of thumb, though, is always 350. Most nuts will be done in 8 minutes. Pine nuts will probably be done in 6 to 7. Okay, the next part is we have 1.5 pounds of fresh green beans. I was gonna say that feels redundant, but it's not. So we're gonna trim the ends, and I'm actually just gonna collect them and then just cut them off because that's easier. You can also snap them off. I recommend getting really long, really thin green beans. Sometimes nowadays they're packaged in like steamable bags, which I find to be so annoying. I wouldn't want to steam my vegetables in a plastic bag, but I won't. Yuck your yum. I think that just can't be good for you. Anyway, so when you're looking for fresh green beans, I would recommend finding like thinner green beans or haricots verts even. They're just gonna roast better. The thicker ones can be a little bit, what's the right word? Tough, I guess. Anyway, that's a lot of stupid information. So I'm gonna put the beans on our baking sheet, and then we're going to do 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil. Just drizzle that over. And then, since this is all oiled up now, we're gonna put the honey in there and it'll just slide right out. It's kind of nice. So we're gonna do 2 teaspoons of honey. You can also do maple syrup if you need this to be vegan. In that case, you're gonna also wanna skip the Parmesan. Need about 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, and then 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Okay, and then we're just gonna toss this to combine. You want everything to be evenly coated. Oh, they already look delicious. I would already eat these. Then we're gonna arrange them in an even layer so that they cook evenly. You don't want them to be too piled on top of each other, but that's just kind of the reality of it. So now comes the steam roast method. So we're gonna tightly cover this with foil and then we're gonna roast it for 10 minutes. What that's gonna do is the foil is going to create basically a lid so it traps all the steam. It's gonna cook the beans through and then we're gonna remove the foil and then they will brown and get nice and roasted. So cuts down on total cook time and it makes the perfect roasted green bean. Make sure it's really tight. And then in it goes 425 for 10 minutes. Adios. Okay, now we're gonna make the dressing for the beans. This is what I think is the piece de resistance because we're making a white balsamic vinaigrette. It's very easy. It's my favorite vinegar to use for vinaigrettes because it's tangy, but it's a little bit slightly sweet. I don't know, it's just really flavorful. So we're gonna do the remaining 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil will go in the bowl. And then 1.5 tablespoons of white balsamic also go in. And then 2 teaspoons of Dijon. And then the last thing we're gonna add is some grated garlic. The nice thing about this recipe is the beans will come out of the oven and immediately be added to the vinaigrette. So the garlic, the raw garlic, will actually get cooked a little bit. So it'll cook out the harshness of the raw garlic while still having that fresh punch of flavor, but it won't take over the whole dish. So that's nice. I'm gonna whisk that up and then we'll season it lightly with salt and pepper. Okay, add a little bit of this in. Since we already seasoned the beans, we don't need too much. We can always season at the end to taste. Okay, now this is on standby. When the beans come out, we'll put it in, and then we'll finish everything. All right, it's been 10 minutes. I'm gonna take the foil off. You can hear them singing. They already look great. Back in for 12. So while the beans are roasting and our vinaigrette is done, I'm going to prep the Parmesan. You can also use aged white cheddar. And I'm just gonna use a vegetable peeler to peel these into large shreds. And this is what we'll finish the green beans with. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Oh, they look good. Okay, the beans are done. And now we're gonna just transfer them to the vinaigrette. Some nice browned bottoms, crisp, tender, but they have a ton of flavor from the browning. And I'm just gonna add them straight to the vinaigrette. And I'm just gonna toss it with the vinaigrette till they're coated, and then we'll plate it up. Oh, it smells so good. I'm gonna try one bean to make sure it's salty enough. Oh my God. That's so good. There's so much flavor in those. Just the perfect amount of sweetness, hardly any, but really balances it. All right, I'm gonna plate these. And then we're gonna slice up this fresh basil. I'm just gonna do about a 1/4 cup. So I'm gonna get the biggest leaves and then thinly slice them or chiffonade them. So we'll do some pine nuts and a little bit of cheese. Gorgeous. That is how easy it is. If you don't have basil, you can also do some thyme. That would be really delicious in the winter. You can use aged cheddar instead of Parmesan. You can use any nut, really. So I plated up with some of my roasted and brined turkey, an example of how easy Thanksgiving could be this year. Okay. There's something about the harmony of all those flavors that is so delicious. It's bright and flavorful. Super bright from that white balsamic and basil together. That harmony is so delicious. But then you have the pine nuts and the Dijon and the cheese. It's absolutely delicious. It's such an easy roast green bean recipe. And it's so flavorful. The full recipe is linked below. If you make this, let me know. And if you have any questions, leave a comment and I'll get back to you. But it's a super easy recipe. Really, it's very hard to mess up. Let me know if you make it. And I hope you meet me back here next week for another Everyday Gourmet. Cool. Yum, I love these.